Hi there, I have a question for you guys today. Actually, let me just show you. So you see this button here? I mean, this is a button, right? So how's it different from this one or this or all these buttons? What is different about all these buttons? If this rounded rectangle with a text in it is enough to call itself a button, then why do people bother putting a stroke around the button? Or maybe some people put a slight drop shadow and make it the same color as the button and spend time doing this. And you would have also seen that some people like to put gradients on their button so you can make them stand out more. These are all button, but which one catches your attention the most? By just adding these small improvements to a simple button, the overall look and feel of a website or an app can be increased so much more than it would have been by just having this simple, bland button. This is called the Pareto's principle, where it actually says that 80% of a company's work is actually done by 20% of the employees. 80% of making the whole design look amazing is done by these 20% small improvements that you make in a design. You can add character to your buttons, you can add elements from your branding to your button, you can add icons to your button, you can add movement to your button, and all these small improvements will lead to a very huge improvement in the overall experience of that particular button. And the additional benefit of doing this is that it shows your control and knowledge over design. It helps you stand out in those 20% of the designers who are putting in that extra 20% effort to make this button instead of all the rest of the 80% of the designers who are just making this button. This little bit of thought that you put into your design, into your work, helps you stand out more than someone else who's just making it for the sake of making it. But be realistic, don't go too overboard, don't make buttons which look like unicorn vomit, which are unusable, that nobody would actually like to click on, it looks cheap, like a fake advertisement. Please don't do that. Everything in a limited quantity is pretty damn good. So this is going to be a very short tutorial on how to make a very minimal, modern looking button which helps you stand out from the rest of the 80% designers. So to make a modern button, press F, make a frame, and then press T and click inside the frame. Now write whatever you want your button to stay. I'll just keep it as button, and then press Shift A while selected that text field. That'll put an auto layout around the text. Now choose the text by control clicking on the button and make sure your font size is correct, and then select the auto layout again, make a fill out of it, and I'll choose the blue color which I want as my button background. Next, again, I'll control click to choose this text field. I'll make the text white, and I feel the contrast is a bit off, but I can worry about that later. I'm just gonna check. Yeah, we'll keep it as intermediate. Horizontal padding as 20 and vertical padding as 8. Make the corner radius 6. Add a stroke. Make the stroke the darker color of whatever color you're doing. Go back to fill. Make it a gradient. Select the second stop. Make the opacity 100%. Select the first stop. Make it a bit lighter. Select the second stop. Make it a bit darker but also more saturated. Go to effects, add a drop shadow, make the drop shadow same color as your darkest color of the gradient, blur it around 8 pixels and make the opacity around 33. Add another effect, make it inner shadow, and I know whenever you add effect you don't know which one it is because if there are multiple drop shadows it's hard to understand, but it's basically whenever you add a new effect, it's always the one on the top. So make the inner shadow white, decrease the blur to 0 so that you can see. Now I'll position it to 2 pixels and blur it by 1 pixel, and I'll decrease the opacity just by a bit. 22 feels fine. I'll add another inner shadow, this time on the bottom, so negative y-axis. Make the blur 0, make it again 2, and then add 1 pixel blur, and this time make it again the darkest blue which you have and the saturated one, and decrease the opacity. There you go. Actually bring it even further up by making it -3. Add another inner shadow, again 0 blur, bring it back up by -2, make it the lightest blue color which you have, blur it by 1 pixel, decrease the opacity, and there you go, there you have it. Now we can make quick comparison of what removing all the effects does. It's still a button, but it just doesn't feel as polished or as intentional as this button. I can again make it a solid color, make it a bit darker, and remove the stroke. It's still a button, but the left one, at least in my opinion, looks better. It's clearly inviting me to click it more than this one is. Like if I see these two on a page, this just shouts click me to me, whereas this is just like flat button. Yeah, I'm boring like that. And well, if you want to make it even more fun, you can add pressed state, which would basically invert your gradient first of all, and there you go. This is the pressed state and this is your default state, and it just looks nice. Let's quickly prototype this, take it here on while pressing, make it smart animate, and if I start it, isn't this just beautiful? Look at the button in action. So just to make comparison once more, let's select this. You cannot tell me that this is not better than this. So moral of the story is, put that little bit of more effort to get much better results, and also buttons are still interesting. There's so many ways to make good buttons. And also bring back skeuomorphism. I really loved it. It added so much personality and interest to a design. In few concepts, skeuomorphism works really good. Anyways, find another very interesting button down below the video which says subscribe, and I hope you like this video. Make better buttons, and see you in the next one.